The alarm bells rang through the corridors of the U.S. Valiant as Captain Jake Morrison rushed to the bridge. His boots echoed against the metal floors while crew members ran to their stations. The ship had been patrolling the Outer Rim territories for 3 months now, and this was the first emergency they had encountered. "What do we have?" Jake asked as he stepped onto the bridge. Lieutenant Amy Foster turned from her console with a worried expression. "Sir, we're receiving a distress signal from the Kelani Republic. It's marked as urgent priority." Jake knew about the Kelani people. They were peaceful beings who had developed some of the most advanced medical technology in the galaxy. Their blue skin could change colors based on their emotions, and right now, Jake imagined they were showing signs of fear. "Put it through," Jake ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing a Kelani female with deep blue skin marked by stress. Patterns. Her large eyes held desperation as she spoke in the universal language. "This is High Counselor Vexthara of the Kelani Republic. We are requesting immediate assistance from the Galactic Coalition. Our worlds are under threat from the Drakmor Empire. They have already conquered 3 of our outer colonies, and their forces are moving toward our core systems." Jake felt his chest tighten. The Drakmor were known throughout the galaxy as ruthless conquerors who showed no mercy to peaceful species. They had been expanding their territory for decades, but they had never moved this far into Coalition space. "Send word to Earth Command immediately," Jake told his communications officer. "Tell them we need Ambassador Rodriguez here as soon as possible." Within hours, Ambassador Lisa Rodriguez arrived on the Valiant aboard a fast courier ship. She was a woman in her 50s with gray hair and tired eyes that had seen too many diplomatic crises. Jake met her in the ship's conference room where High Counselor Vexthara waited via hologram. "Counselor," Lisa said with a respectful nod, "Earth stands ready to assist the Kelani Republic. Can you tell us more about the situation?" Vexthara's skin shifted to darker shades of blue as she began to explain. "The Drakmor came without warning. They destroyed our defense stations with weapons we had never seen before. Our people tried to surrender, but they killed everyone. Anyway, then they took our scientists and our medical research." Lisa leaned forward. "Your medical research?" "Yes," Vexthara replied. "For centuries, we have worked to develop technologies that can heal almost any injury and extend life far beyond what most species experience. We had hoped to share this knowledge with the Coalition, but now the Drakmor have it." Jake exchanged a worried glance with Lisa. If the Drakmor could use Kelani medical technology to create super soldiers or extend their own lives indefinitely, they would become nearly unstoppable. "What exactly are you asking from the Coalition?" Lisa asked. "We invoke the Mutual Defense Pact," Vexthara said. "We are offering to share all of our medical technology freely with every Coalition member in exchange for protection. This technology could eliminate most diseases and add centuries to the lives of your people." Lisa's eyes widened. The implications were enormous. Kelani medical technology was rumored to be capable of things that seemed impossible: regenerating lost limbs, reversing aging, even bringing people back from the brink of death. "I need to contact Earth Command," Lisa said. "Can you hold your current positions?" "We will try," Vexthara replied. "But our defenses are weak. We have always believed that peace and knowledge were better than weapons and war. Now that belief may cost us everything." The hologram flickered out, leaving Jake and Lisa alone in the conference room. Jake could see the weight of the decision pressing down on the ambassador. "This is bigger than just saving the Kelani," Lisa said quietly. "If the Drakmor get their hands on life-extending technology, they could build an empire that lasts forever." Jake nodded. "What will Earth's response be, officially?" "We'll follow standard diplomatic protocols. We'll try to negotiate, send a small defense force, and hope for the best." Lisa paused. "But I have a feeling this situation is going to require more than diplomacy." Back on Earth, Admiral Karen West sat in her office at Earth Command reading the reports from the Kelani system. She was a career military officer who had served for 30 years, and she had never seen anything quite like this situation. Lieutenant Commander Ryan Hughes knocked on her door. "Admiral, I have the intelligence report you requested." Come in, Ryan, Karen said. What do we know about the Drakmar? Ryan placed a datapad on her desk. It's worse than we thought. Our deep space monitoring stations have detected massive military buildups in Drakmar space. They're not just expanding randomly, they're preparing for something big. Karen picked up the datapad and scrolled through the information. Fleet movements, weapon signatures, communication intercepts. It all pointed to a coordinated campaign of conquest. There's more, Ryan continued. We've intercepted communications suggesting that the Drakmar are conducting experiments on captured populations. They're using prisoners as test subjects for biological weapons. Karen felt her stomach turn. She had seen war before, but this was different. This was systematic genocide disguised as military expansion. What about the Kelani offer? She asked. Our medical experts are excited about the possibilities, Ryan replied. If even half of what the Kelani claim is true, their technology could revolutionize medicine across the galaxy. We're talking about the end of aging, the cure for cancer, the ability to regrow organs. Karen stood up and walked to the window, overlooking Earth Command's main courtyard. Below, she could see young officers training for a future that might be very different from the peaceful one they expected. The Drakmar think we're soft, she said. They see Earth as just another coalition member more interested in trade than fighting. Are they wrong? Ryan asked carefully. Karen turned back to face him. That depends on what we're willing to do to protect innocent people, she paused. Send orders to Captain Morrison. Tell him to maintain position and gather as much intelligence as possible. And Ryan? Yes, Admiral? Start pulling the files on the deep storage protocols. If this situation escalates, we might need to remind the galaxy what humans are capable of when we're truly threatened. Ryan's eyes widened slightly. The deep storage protocols were classified at the highest levels, containing military technologies and strategies that had been kept secret for over a century. Ma'am, are you sure that's necessary? Karen looked back out the window. I hope not, Ryan. But if the Drakmar want to test humanity's resolve, they might not like what they find. 3 days after the first distress call, Ambassador Lisa Rodriguez found herself sitting across from War Commander Grixtal of the Drakmar Empire. The meeting took place on a neutral station in the border region between Coalition and Drakmar. Space. The alien commander was massive, standing nearly 8 feet tall with dark gray skin and 4 arms that ended in clawed hands. Ambassador Rodriguez, Grixtal said in a voice that sounded like grinding stone. Your coalition sent a diplomat to speak with me. How amusing. Lisa kept her expression calm despite the insult. Commander Grixtal, Earth and the coalition are concerned about your recent actions in Kelani space. We believe a peaceful solution can be found. Grixtal's laugh was harsh and cold. Peace? The Kelani had their chance for peace. They could have surrendered their technology willingly. Instead, they chose to resist. The Kelani are a peaceful people, Lisa replied. They have never threatened your empire. Why attack them? Because they possess something we need, Grixtal said simply. Their medical technology will make my soldiers stronger and help them live longer. With it, the Drakmar Empire will be unstoppable. Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. And if we ask you to withdraw from Kelani space? Then you would be wasting your time, Grixtal replied. Humans are known for their soft hearts and weak stomachs. You will negotiate and compromise until the Kelani are extinct. Then you will find another diplomatic solution to explain your failure. The meeting ended with no progress. Lisa returned to the Valiant knowing that diplomacy had failed before it even began. The Drakmar had no interest in peace or compromise. They wanted the Kelani technology, and they were willing to commit genocide to get it. 2 days later, the worst fears came true. Captain Jake Morrison was in his ready room when the alert came through. Lieutenant Amy Foster's voice crackled over the intercom with barely controlled panic. Captain, you need to get to the bridge immediately. The Drakmar are attacking the Kelani Medical Research Station. Jake ran to the bridge and saw the tactical display showing the attack in real time. Drakmar warships had surrounded the research station and were pounding it with weapons fire. The station's weak shields were failing and escape pods were launching in all directions. Can we help them? Jake asked. We're too far away, Foster replied. Even at maximum speed, we won't arrive for another 6 hours. Jake watched helplessly as the research station exploded in a brilliant flash of light. Hundreds of Kelani scientists and their irreplaceable research were gone in an instant. But worse was yet to come. Sir, Foster said quietly, we're receiving scattered transmissions from the escape pods. The Drakmor are capturing the survivors. Jake's hands clenched into fists. All of them? The ones they can catch, Foster confirmed. Intelligence suggests? They're taking the scientists alive for interrogation and experimentation. Within hours, the Valiant arrived at the remains of the research station. The debris field stretched for thousands of kilometers, and among the wreckage floated the bodies of Kelani who had tried to escape. Dr. Helen Carter, the ship's chief medical officer, worked frantically to save the few survivors they found. How many did we lose? Jake asked as he entered the medical bay. Over 300 confirmed dead, Dr. Carter replied without looking up from her patient. Maybe 50 survivors and most of them are badly injured. Jake looked at the Kelani survivors lying on the medical beds. Their usually blue skin had turned pale gray with shock and pain. One young female scientist named Zaralyn grabbed his arm as he passed. Captain, she whispered, they took Dr. Morthuk and the others. They're going to use them to unlock our medical secrets. You have to stop them. We'll do everything we can, Jake promised, though he wasn't sure what that would be. Dr. Carter pulled Jake aside. Captain, you need to see this. She handed him a datapad showing medical scans of the survivors. These injuries aren't just from the attack. Some of these people were tortured before they escaped. Jake felt his blood run cold. Tortured? Look at these burn marks, Dr. Carter said, pointing to the scans. They're precise and deliberate. Someone was trying to cause maximum pain without killing them. The Drakmor were experimenting on prisoners even during the attack. The reality of what they were facing hit Jake like a physical blow. This wasn't just a military conquest. The Drakmor were conducting systematic torture and experimentation on innocent people back on Earth. Admiral Karen West stood in the Situation Room surrounded by holographic displays showing the attack's aftermath. The images were difficult to watch, but she forced herself to see everything. The Drakmor have crossed a line, she said to the assembled officers. This isn't warfare anymore. This is genocide. General P. Collins, head of Terran Military Command, stepped forward. Admiral, our current fleet strength in that sector is minimal. We have maybe a dozen ships that could reach Kelani space within a week. What about coalition forces? Karen asked. The other coalition members are discussing economic sanctions and diplomatic protests, Collins replied with disgust. They're treating this like a trade dispute instead of mass murder. Lieutenant Commander Ryan Hughes cleared his throat. Admiral, I have new intelligence from our deep space monitoring stations. The Drakmor attack on the research station was just the beginning. They're moving major fleet elements toward the Kelani homeworld. Karen studied the tactical displays. Drakmor fleet movements showed a coordinated assault plan that would overwhelm the Kelani's limited defenses within days. How long do the Kelani have? She asked. At current rate of advance, maybe a week before the Drakmor reach their homeworld, Hughes replied. After that, it's over. Karen walked to the window overlooking Earth's military complex. In the distance, she could see the massive structures that had been built during humanity's last major war over a century ago. Most of them had been mothballed or converted to peaceful purposes, but the infrastructure remained. General Collins, she said without turning around, I need you to activate the emergency protocols. Start recalling all reserve units and begin mobilizing the deep storage facilities. Collins looked uncertain. Ma'am, that level of mobilization hasn't been authorized since the Centauri War. It would require approval from the Earth Defense Council. Then get me that approval, Karen said firmly. Because if we don't act now, we're going to watch an entire civilization get wiped out while we debate proper procedures. Admiral, Hughes said carefully, the Drakmor have been expanding for decades. They've conquered dozens of worlds. What makes the Kelani different? Karen turned to face her officers. The Kelani have something the Drakmor want badly enough to commit genocide for it. And if the Drakmor get their hands on life-extending medical technology, they won't stop with the Kelani. They'll come for everyone else next. She paused, looking at each officer in turn. The Drakmor think humanity is soft because we prefer diplomacy to warfare. They think we'll negotiate and compromise while innocent people die. It's time to remind the galaxy that humans have never been soft when it comes to protecting the innocent. General Collins straightened. What are your orders, Admiral? Contact the Earth Defense Council immediately, Karen said. Tell them we have a potential genocide situation that requires immediate military intervention. And Collins? Yes, ma'am. Start dusting off the deep storage protocols. If the Drakmor want to see what human military might looks like, we're going to show them. The Earth Defense Council meeting lasted 18 hours, but Admiral Karen West got the authorization she needed. Within minutes of the final vote, encrypted messages began transmitting to every human world and station across the galaxy. The messages contained only 2 words, Protocol 7. Commander Lisa Park received her orders while overseeing routine maintenance on Luna Station. She had been the station commander for 3 years, managing what most people believed was a simple research facility on the far side of the moon. The truth was very different. Ma'am, her communications officer said, we're receiving a priority alpha transmission from Earth Command. Lisa read the message and felt her heart skip a beat. She had hoped this day would never come, but she had trained for it her entire career. Sound general quarters and seal all external communications. No one gets in or out without my personal authorization. Within the hour, Luna Station began its transformation. Massive blast doors that had been hidden beneath the lunar surface started opening for the first time in over a century. The research facility on the surface was just a cover for something much larger underneath, deep beneath the moon's surface. Automated systems that had been dormant for decades suddenly came to life. Assembly lines began moving and manufacturing. Equipment started producing components that existed only in classified blueprints. The Luna military complex was awakening. Commander Park, her chief engineer called out, the deep storage vaults are opening. We're showing green lights on all primary systems. Lisa watched through reinforced windows as the massive underground facility revealed itself. Rows of automated production lines stretched as far as she could see, each one designed to build different components of humanity's hidden military arsenal. How long until full production capacity? She asked. 12 hours for basic systems, 48 hours for full military production, the engineer replied. The computers estimate we can have the first ships ready within a week. On Mars, Colonel. Tony Adams was facing his own transformation. He had been the head of the Mars Mining Consortium for 5 years, overseeing the extraction of rare metals from the red planet's crust. Like Luna Station, the mining operation was a cover for something much more significant. Sir, his deputy said, we're receiving confirmation codes from all mining stations. The deep facilities are responding to activation signals. Tony looked out at the Martian landscape through his office window. To casual observers, Mars looked like any other mining world with its scattered industrial complexes and transport networks. But beneath the surface, humanity had built something extraordinary. Begin Phase 1 activation, Tony ordered. And get me a direct line to Admiral West. Across the Martian surface, what appeared to be mining equipment began transforming into something entirely different. Massive rail guns emerged from beneath the red soil, their barrels pointing toward space. Underground manufacturing facilities that had been disguised as ore processing plants started producing military hardware. The transformation was happening on every human world. On the asteroid mining stations, hidden weapon platforms revealed themselves. On the agricultural worlds, food processing plants began manufacturing military supplies. On the industrial planets, Civilian factories retooled their production lines to build warships and weapons. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his new ship, the UES Retribution, trying to understand what he was seeing. The ship was unlike anything he had ever commanded. Where the Valiant had been a diplomatic vessel with basic defensive systems, the Retribution was clearly built for war. "Captain," his new weapons officer, Lieutenant Amy Foster, said, "I'm still trying to figure out what half of these systems do. The weapons array alone is more powerful than most Coalition battleships." Jake nodded, feeling overwhelmed by the ship's capabilities. "How long has this technology existed?" "According to the technical manuals, some of these designs are over." "A century old," Foster replied. "But the manufacturing techniques and materials science needed to build them have only recently become available." The ship's AI system activated with a soft chime. "Good morning, Captain Morrison. I am Phoenix, your ship's artificial intelligence. I have been in dormant mode for 153 years, 4 months, and 16 days. Jake stared at the holographic display that had appeared on his command console. "You've been waiting for a century and a half?" "Correct, Captain. I was programmed to activate only when humanity faced an existential threat requiring full military mobilization. Based on current intelligence regarding the Drakmor threat, that threshold has been reached." Dr. Helen Carter, now serving as the ship's chief medical officer, joined the conversation. "Phoenix, what can you tell us about the Drakmor?" "The Drakmor Empire represents a classic expansion through genocide scenario," Phoenix replied. "Their pattern of conquest involves the systematic elimination of conquered populations followed by the extraction of useful technologies and resources. They have destroyed 47 separate civilizations over the past 3 centuries. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. 47 civilizations? Correct. The Drakmor do not take prisoners except for experimental purposes. They do not negotiate except as a delaying tactic. They do not show mercy to civilians, including children. They are, by every measure, a threat to all sentient life in this galaxy." Meanwhile, intelligence reports were flowing into Earth Command from across human space. The Drakmor had been so focused on their conquest of the Kelani that they had failed to notice humanity's rapid militarization. Their intelligence networks had dismissed the increased activity as defensive preparations. Lieutenant Commander Ryan Hughes briefed Admiral West on the latest intelligence. "The Drakmor are completely unaware of our true capabilities. Their reports describe human military preparations as typical Coalition defensive measures and poorly coordinated panic responses." Admiral West smiled grimly. "Let them think that. How long until our fleets are ready?" "Mars reports that their primary defensive systems will be online within 6 hours, Hughes replied. "Luna Station estimates another day for the first squadron of ships. The outer colonies are moving slower, but they should have basic defensive capabilities within a week." "And the Kelani?" West asked. "The Drakmor main fleet is still 3 days away from their homeworld. We should have sufficient forces ready before they arrive." General P. Collins entered the command center carrying a secure datapad. "Admiral, the deep storage protocols are fully activated. We have manufacturing capacity coming online across 47 different worlds. The production estimates are frankly staggering." "How staggering?" West asked. "Within a month we could have a fleet." "Larger than the entire Coalition Navy," Collins replied. "Within 6 months we could have the largest military force in known galactic history." West studied the production reports. Humanity had been quietly building the infrastructure for total war for over a century, disguising it as civilian industry and peaceful research. The galaxy had no idea what humans were capable of when truly mobilized. "The Drakmor think we're soft," she said. "They think we'll negotiate while they commit genocide. They have no idea that humanity has been preparing for this exact scenario since we first encountered hostile alien life." She turned to address the entire command staff. "Gentlemen, the Drakmor are about to learn something important about human nature. We are not soft, we are not weak, and we do not allow innocent people to be slaughtered while we debate proper procedures. Admiral West activated the fleet-wide communication system. This is Admiral West to all human military units. Operation Thunderstrike is now in effect. We are going to war not for conquest or glory, but to prevent genocide and protect the innocent. The Drakmor wanted to test human resolve. They're about to get their answer. Across human space, the greatest military mobilization in galactic history was taking place. The sleeping giant was waking up, and soon the Drakmor would learn why humanity had survived to reach the stars. The Drakmor fleet arrived at the Kelani homeworld exactly as their intelligence had predicted. War Commander Grixtol stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Destroyer of Worlds, watching the peaceful blue planet grow larger on his screens. The world below held over 2 billion Kelani civilians and the last of their medical research facilities. "Begin the bombardment," Grixtol ordered. "Target the major cities first. I want the population centers destroyed before they can evacuate." The Drakmor fleet opened fire on the defenseless world below. Massive energy beams tore through the atmosphere, turning entire cities into craters of molten glass. The Kelani had no military defenses that could stop the assault, and their civilian ships were easy targets for Drakmor fighters. "Sir," his intelligence officer Sub-Commander Thaxanor reported, "we're detecting minimal resistance. A few civilian defense ships, but nothing that poses a threat to our forces." Grixtol smiled with satisfaction. "Excellent. Begin landing operations. I want every research facility secured and every scientist captured alive. The medical technology must be preserved." Thousands of Drakmor troops began descending toward the planet's surface in armored dropships. They landed in the major cities and began systematically hunting down Kelani civilians. The orders were clear: kill the useless ones and capture anyone with medical knowledge. What neither Grixtol nor his forces noticed were the small objects floating in the outer system. They looked like ordinary asteroids, but they were actually human observation posts that had been watching and waiting. The moment the Drakmor attack began, these hidden stations sent a single coded message toward Earth. "The storm breaks now." Admiral Karen West received the message while standing in the command center of the UES Sovereign, humanity's new flagship. The ship was massive, dwarfing anything the Coalition had ever built, and it was filled with weapons that the galaxy had never seen before. "All units, this is Admiral West," she announced over the fleet communications. "The Drakmor have begun their assault on the Kelani homeworld. Operation Thunderstrike is now active. Show them what human justice looks like." The first phase of the human counterattack began with weapons that had been hidden throughout the galaxy for decades. Railguns concealed in asteroid fields powered up and began tracking their targets. The massive weapons fired projectiles at incredible speeds, sending chunks of metal flying through space at significant fractions of light speed. War Commander Grixtol was reading casualty reports from the planet's surface when his ship's alarms began screaming. "What is happening?" he demanded. "Sir, we're detecting incoming projectiles from multiple directions," his weapons officer reported. "They're moving too fast for our sensors to track properly." The first railgun projectile struck a Drakmor cruiser amidships, punching completely through the vessel's armor and causing it to explode in a brilliant flash. Within seconds, more projectiles began hitting targets throughout the Drakmor fleet. "Where are they coming from?" Grixtol shouted. "Unknown, sir," Thaxanor replied. "We're detecting energy signatures from asteroid fields throughout the system, but our sensors show nothing but rocks." Before Grixtol could respond, space around the Kelani homeworld began to shimmer and distort. Human fleets were emerging from hyperspace in perfect formation, their ships appearing as if from nowhere. The vessels were unlike anything the Drakmor had ever seen, bristling with weapons and crackling with energy. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution as his ship materialized in normal space. Around him, dozens of other human warships were appearing, each one more advanced than anything the Drakmor possessed. "Phoenix, target their troop transports first," Jake ordered. "We need to stop them from killing civilians." "Confirmed, Captain." The AI responded, "Weapons are locked on target. Firing now." The Retribution's main guns opened fire, sending beams of pure energy across space. The weapons cut through Drakmor shields like they were made of paper, destroying troop transports and preventing more soldiers from reaching the planet's surface. Across the fleet, similar scenes were playing out. Human ships were systematically destroying Drakmor vessels with weapons that seemed impossible. Energy beams that could slice through multiple ships at once, missile swarms that could overwhelm any defense system, and projectile weapons that fired faster than the Drakmor could react. "Sir," Thaxonar reported with panic in his voice, "we're taking heavy casualties. Our shields are useless against their weapons, and our return fire is having minimal effect." Grixtel stared at the tactical display in disbelief. His fleet was being destroyed piece by piece, and he couldn't understand how. Where did these ships come from? Human military forces are supposed to be minimal. "I don't know, sir," Thaxonar replied. "Our intelligence reports indicated that humans had only a few dozen combat vessels in this entire sector." What the Drakmor didn't understand was that humanity had been hiding its true military strength for over a century. The ships they were facing represented technology that had been developed in secret, built in hidden facilities, and crewed by personnel who had trained for this exact scenario. Admiral West coordinated the battle from the Sovereign's Bridge, watching as human forces systematically dismantled the Drakmor fleet. "All units, focus fire on their command ships. We need to cut off their coordination." The human fleet responded with precision that amazed even their own crews. Ships moved in perfect formation, their weapons firing in coordinated volleys that maximized damage while minimizing friendly fire risks. The Drakmor, accustomed to fighting against peaceful species with minimal military capabilities, had no answer for humanity's combined arms approach. On the planet's surface, the situation was changing rapidly. Human marines were dropping from the sky in powered armor that made them look like metal gods of war. Sergeant Maria Santos led her squad through the burning streets of the Kalani capital, systematically eliminating Drakmor occupation forces. "Contact front," one of her marines called out. Drakmor squad about 20 meters ahead. Maria's armor enhanced her vision, showing her the enemy positions in perfect detail. "Take them down." No prisoners. The human marines moved with deadly efficiency, their weapons cutting through Drakmor armor with ease. The aliens had expected to face defenseless civilians, not highly trained soldiers with advanced equipment. Dr. Helen Carter was aboard one of the medical ships that had accompanied the fleet. As human forces secured areas of the planet, she and her teams began treating Kalani survivors. What they found was worse than anyone had imagined. "Captain Morrison," she reported over the communications system, "the Drakmor weren't just killing civilians, they were conducting experiments on them. I'm seeing evidence of biological weapons testing, surgical procedures without anesthesia, and deliberate torture." Jake felt his anger growing as he heard the report. "How many survivors do we have?" "Maybe a few 100,000 out of 2 billion, Carter replied. The Drakmor were efficient in their killing. The battle in space was reaching its conclusion. The Drakmor fleet was reduced to scattered remnants, most of their ships destroyed or disabled. War Commander Grixtel found himself trapped on a dying ship, his dreams of conquest turning to ash. "Sir," Thaxonar said quietly, "we need to evacuate. The ship's reactor is failing." Grixtel stared at the tactical display one last time, trying to understand how everything had gone so wrong. How did the humans hide this from us? How did we not know they possessed such power? "I don't know, sir," Thaxonar replied. "But it's clear we underestimated them completely." As the Drakmor command ship exploded in a final burst of light, Admiral West surveyed the aftermath of the battle. The human fleet had achieved total victory with minimal losses, but the cost in Kalani lives was staggering. "All units," she announced, "begin rescue operations immediately. Every Kalani life we can save is a victory against the darkness the Drakmor represent." The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't its weapons or its technology, but its unwavering commitment to protecting innocent life, no matter the cost. The destruction of the Drakmor fleet at the Kelani homeworld was only the beginning. Admiral Karen West stood in the command center of the UES Sovereign, studying holographic displays that showed Drakmor territory spanning dozens of star systems. Each red dot on the map represented a world where innocent beings were suffering under Drakmor rule. Admiral, Lieutenant Commander Ryan Hughes reported, "Our intelligence networks are reporting panic throughout Drakmor space. They're recalling fleets from their frontier territories and consolidating their forces around their core worlds." Karen nodded, but her expression remained grim. "They're learning too late that humanity doesn't fight wars by half measures. When we commit to protecting innocent life, we see it through to the end." She activated the fleet-wide communication system. "All human forces, this is Admiral West. Phase 2 of Operation Thunderstrike is now in effect. We're taking the fight to every Drakmor installation within 200 light-years. No Drakmor military facility will be allowed to continue operating." Across human space, fleets that had been rapidly assembled began launching toward their assigned targets. Captain Rachel Stone commanded the 5th Fleet, heading toward the Drakmor bioweapons research facility in the Zarian system. Admiral Frank Rodriguez led the 7th Fleet toward the main Drakmor shipyards in the Korthek sector. Each fleet carried enough firepower to destroy entire planets. The scale of the assault was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human ships emerged from hyperspace in over 30 different star systems simultaneously, catching the Drakmor completely off guard. The aliens had been expecting humanity to defend their own territory, not launch a coordinated offensive across half the galaxy. Colonel Tony Adams led the ground assault on the primary Drakmor bioweapons facility. The massive complex was built into an asteroid and protected by heavy defensive systems, but the human forces were prepared for anything. "Phoenix teams, begin your approach," Adams ordered over the tactical network. "Remember, our priority is destroying the research and rescuing any prisoners we find." Human assault shuttles streaked toward the asteroid base, their armor designed to withstand the defensive fire that erupted from hidden gun positions. The shuttles landed in multiple locations, disgorging Marines in powered armor who immediately began cutting through the facility's outer defenses. Inside the bioweapons facility, Adams and his teams discovered horrors that made even veteran soldiers sick to their stomachs. The Drakmor had been using captured beings from dozens of different species as test subjects for their biological weapons. Thousands of prisoners were kept in cells barely large enough to stand in, many of them showing signs of surgical experimentation. "Sir," Sergeant Maria Santos reported over the communications system, "we've found the main research labs. The Drakmor have been testing diseases designed to target specific species. They have weapons that could wipe out entire civilizations." Adams felt his anger growing as he moved through the facility. "Document everything and prepare the research data for destruction. No one should have access to weapons like these." The battle for the facility was fierce, but brief. The Drakmor defenders, accustomed to using their bioweapons against defenseless prisoners, found themselves facing opponents who were protected by advanced environmental suits and trained to fight in contaminated environments. Dr. Helen Carter, now leading a medical team aboard one of the assault ships, worked frantically to treat the rescued prisoners. Many of them were barely alive, their bodies ravaged by months or years of experimentation. "How many species have they been experimenting on?" she asked her assistant while treating a wounded alien she didn't recognize. "At least 20 different species," the assistant replied. "Some of these prisoners have been here for years. The Drakmor were using them to test everything from biological weapons to surgical procedures." Carter felt tears forming in her eyes as she looked at the suffering around her. "Get word to Admiral West. She needs to know how extensive this operation was." Meanwhile, Captain Jake Morrison was leading the assault on a Drakmor prison world where thousands of captured beings were being held as slave laborers. The UES Retribution emerged from hyperspace along with a dozen other ships, immediately engaging the planet's orbital defenses. "Phoenix, target their defense platforms first," Jake ordered. "We need to clear a path for the rescue ships." The AI responded instantly. coordinating the ship's weapons with surgical precision. Targets acquired and destroyed, Captain. The orbital space is clear for landing operations. Human Marines began landing on the prison world's surface, fighting through Drakmor Guard units to reach the massive labor camps. What they found was a nightmare of systematic cruelty. Prisoners from dozens of worlds were being worked to death. In mines and factories, producing weapons and equipment for the Drakmor war machine. Lieutenant Amy Foster led one of the rescue teams into a mining complex where hundreds of prisoners were being forced to extract rare metals in dangerous conditions. Many of them were so weak they could barely stand, their bodies broken by months of abuse. "Get the medical teams down here immediately," Foster ordered. "We're going to need every doctor we have." The Drakmor guards, faced with human Marines in powered armor, tried to use the prisoners as shields. But the humans had trained for exactly this scenario, using non-lethal weapons to disable the guards while keeping the prisoners safe. Back in Drakmor core territory, the Empire's leadership was beginning to understand the scope of the disaster they faced. War Commander Grixtal was dead, along with most of the fleet that had attacked the Kelani homeworld. Reports were coming in from across their territory of human forces, destroying military installations and freeing prisoners. Supreme War Leader Vragthul, the ultimate ruler of the Drakmor Empire, stood in his command center on the Imperial homeworld. The massive alien was 8 feet tall with scarred skin that told the story of a lifetime of conquest and violence. "How many systems have we lost?" he demanded. His aide, a smaller Drakmor named Jektar, consulted his datapad with trembling hands. 15 systems have gone silent, Supreme Leader. We believe human forces have destroyed or captured all of our installations in those areas. Vragthul's 4 arms gestured violently. "How is this possible? Our intelligence reported that humans had minimal military capabilities." "It appears our intelligence was completely wrong," Jektar replied. "The humans have revealed military technology far beyond anything we knew they possessed. Their ships are faster, their weapons are more powerful, and their coordination is perfect." The Supreme War Leader walked to a massive window that looked out over the capital city of the Drakmor homeworld. Below him, millions of Drakmor civilians went about their daily lives, unaware that their empire was crumbling around them. "Prepare the planet-killer weapon," Vragthul ordered. "If we cannot have the galaxy, then no one can." Jektar's eyes widened in horror. "Supreme Leader, the planet killer has never been tested. Using it could destroy our own world as well." "Better to die fighting than to live under human rule," Vragthul replied. "Target the Kelani homeworld. If we destroy it, the humans will know the price of opposing the Drakmor Empire." Unknown to the Drakmor leadership, human intelligence networks had been monitoring their communications since the war began. The moment the order was given to prepare the planet-killer weapon, Admiral West received the information aboard the Sovereign. "Admiral," Hughes reported urgently, "the Drakmor are preparing to use a planet-killer weapon against the Kelani homeworld. Our analysis suggests it's some kind of massive energy beam that could destroy an entire planet." West felt her blood run cold. After everything they had done to save the Kelani, the Drakmor were preparing to wipe them out completely. "How long until the weapon is ready?" she asked. "Intelligence estimates 6 hours," Hughes replied. West turned to her tactical officer. "Send word to all fleets. We're moving the timetable up. Every available ship is to converge on the Drakmor homeworld immediately." She paused, looking at the tactical displays showing human forces scattered across Drakmor territory. "And send a message to Captain Morrison. Tell him we may need to make the ultimate sacrifice to save the Kelani." The final phase of the war was about to begin, and humanity would show the galaxy that some things were worth any price to protect. The human fleet converged on the Drakmor homeworld faster than anyone thought possible. Admiral Karen West watched from the bridge of the UES Sovereign as dozens of ships emerged from hyperspace around the heavily defended planet. The Drakmor had pulled back their remaining forces to make a final stand, but they were facing the full might of humanity's military power. "Admiral," Lieutenant Commander Ryan Hughes reported, "we're detecting massive energy buildups on the planet's surface." The planet killer weapon is almost ready to fire. West studied the tactical displays showing the weapon's location. It was buried deep beneath the planet's surface, protected by layers of armor and defensive systems. Getting to it would require a direct assault on the most heavily defended world in Drakmor space. "Time until the weapon fires?" she asked. 47 minutes, Hughes replied. West activated the fleet communications. "All ships. This is Admiral West. The Drakmor are preparing to commit the ultimate genocide by destroying the Kelani homeworld. We cannot allow this to happen. Prepare for a full assault." Captain Jake Morrison received the orders aboard the UES Retribution and felt the weight of the moment. His ship was one of the fastest in the fleet, which meant he would likely be among the first to engage the planet's defenses. "Phoenix," he said to the ship's AI, "calculate the fastest route to the planet killer weapon." "Captain," Phoenix replied, "the weapon is located beneath the planet's capital city. Reaching it will require breaking through orbital defenses, atmospheric defenses, and ground-based fortifications. The probability of success is 37%. Jake looked around his bridge at the crew members who had followed him through every battle of this war. Dr. Helen Carter was at her medical station, ready to treat casualties. Lieutenant Amy Foster was at weapons control, her hands steady despite the magnitude of what they faced. "Those aren't the worst odds we've faced," Jake said. "Begin the attack run." The human fleet struck the Drakmor homeworld with everything they had. Ships that had been hidden across the galaxy for decades unleashed weapons that the Drakmor had never imagined possible. Energy beams carved through defensive stations while missile swarms overwhelmed point defense systems. Supreme War Leader Vrakthal watched the battle from his command center deep beneath the planet's surface. The human assault was more coordinated and devastating than anything he had ever witnessed. His orbital defenses were being destroyed one by one, and human ships were beginning to enter the planet's atmosphere. "How long until the planet killer is ready?" he demanded. 15 minutes, Supreme Leader, his aide Jektar replied. "But the humans are moving faster than we anticipated. They may reach the weapon before we can fire it." Vrakthal's scarred face twisted with rage. "Then we die fighting. Order all ground forces to defend the weapon at any cost." On the planet's surface, human Marines were fighting their way through the capital city. The Drakmor defenders fought with desperate fury, knowing that their empire's survival depended on completing their final weapon. Building by building, street by street, the human forces advanced toward their target. Sergeant Maria Santos led her squad through the ruins of what had once been a civilian district. The Drakmor had turned their own people into soldiers, forcing civilians to fight alongside their military forces. "Contact front," one of her Marines called out. "Large Drakmor force mixed military and civilian." Santos looked through her armors. "Sensors at the enemy positions?" She could see Drakmor families huddled together, many of them carrying weapons they barely knew how to use. "Non-lethal weapons only for the civilians," she ordered. "We're not here to slaughter innocents." The human forces advanced with careful precision, using stun weapons to disable civilian defenders while eliminating military targets with lethal force. It was a difficult balance, but humanity had learned to distinguish between enemies and victims. Captain Morrison brought the Retribution down through the planet's atmosphere, using the ship's massive firepower to clear a path for the ground forces. The ship's weapons carved through defensive positions while its shields deflected return fire. "Captain," Dr. Carter reported from her station, "I'm detecting massive energy readings from the target site. Whatever they're building down there, it's almost ready." Jake nodded grimly. "Phoenix, prepare for emergency landing. We're going to have to finish this on foot." The Retribution touched down in the center of the Drakmor capital, its landing creating a crater in the ancient streets. Human Marines poured out of the ship, advancing toward the entrance to the underground weapon facility. The final battle took place in the tunnels beneath the Drakmor capital. Human forces fought through corridor after corridor, facing desperate defenders who knew they were fighting for their civilization's survival. The weapon facility was a maze of passages and chambers, each one defended by Drakmor soldiers willing to die rather than surrender. Jake led a team toward the weapons control center, following Phoenix's guidance through the complex. Behind them, they could hear the sounds of battle as other human teams secured different sections of the facility. "Captain," Phoenix announced, "I'm detecting the weapons charging sequence. It will fire in 3 minutes." Jake and his team reached the control center to find Supreme War Leader Vrakthil standing beside a massive control console. The 8-foot-tall alien turned to face them, his 4 arms holding weapons. "So the humans finally show themselves," Vrakthil said in perfect English. "You may have won this battle, but you will not stop the destruction of your precious Kalani friends." Jake raised his weapon. "Step away from the controls." "Never," Vrakthil replied. "The Drakmor Empire dies today, but we will take our enemies." "With us?" The alien leader lunged toward the firing controls, but Jake was faster. His weapon discharged, sending an energy beam that struck Vrakthil in the chest. The massive alien stumbled but continued toward the controls. Determined to complete his final act of genocide, Dr. Carter appeared beside Jake, carrying a medical scanner. "The weapon is locked into its firing sequence. Even with Vrakthil dead, it's going to fire." Jake looked at the massive weapon system stretching out before them. The Planet Killer was a technological marvel, capable of destroying an entire world from across the galaxy. In 2 minutes it would fire, and the Kalani homeworld would be destroyed. "Phoenix," Jake said, "can we redirect the weapon?" "Negative." "Captain, the targeting system is locked. However, I can place the retribution in the weapon's path. The ship's shields should be able to absorb the energy beam and prevent it from reaching its target." Jake felt his heart skip a beat. What would happen to the ship? "The retribution would be destroyed, Captain. However, the crew could evacuate in time." Jake activated his communication system. "All human forces, this is Captain Morrison. Evacuate the facility immediately. The weapon is going to fire, and we're going to stop it." He turned to his crew. "Everyone to the escape pods." "That's an order." Dr. Carter stepped forward. "Jake, there has to be another way." "There isn't," Jake replied. "The Kalani saved by our sacrifice will number in the billions. That's a trade worth making." One by one, Jake's crew evacuated to the escape pods. He remained on the bridge alone, watching as the Planet Killer weapon prepared to fire. Through the ship's sensors, he could see the massive energy beam building in the weapon's core. "Phoenix," he said quietly, "it's been an honor serving with you." "The honor has been mine, Captain," the A replied. Initiating final protocol. The retribution lifted off from the planet's surface and positioned itself in the weapon's firing path. The energy beam erupted from the planet's surface, a column of destruction that could annihilate worlds. It struck the retribution's shields and was absorbed, the ship's technology converting the deadly energy into harmless radiation. The explosion that followed lit up the Drakmor homeworld like a second sun. When the light faded, the retribution was gone, but the Kalani homeworld remained safe. Admiral West watched the sacrifice from her command ship and felt tears in her eyes. "All ships," she announced, "Captain Morrison and the retribution have saved the Kalani people. Let us honor their sacrifice by ensuring this never happens again." The war was over. The Drakmor Empire had fallen, and the galaxy was safe from their genocidal ambitions. In the years that followed, humanity would help rebuild the worlds that had suffered under Drakmor rule. The Kalani medical technology would be shared freely, bringing healing and extended life to billions of beings across the galaxy. The Galactic Protection Force was established with humanity at its core, ensuring that no peaceful species would ever again face extinction while others stood by and watched. The galaxy had learned that when innocent lives were threatened, humanity would respond with whatever force was necessary to protect them. Captain Jake Morrison was listed as missing in action, but those who knew him understood that he had chosen to make the ultimate sacrifice to save others. His actions became a symbol of humanity's greatest strength, not the power to destroy, but the willingness to give everything to protect innocent life. The Drakmor had asked for war, and humanity had given them the full might of their military power. But in the end, it was not humanity's weapons that won the war, but their unwavering commitment to the principle that no being should suffer while others have the power to help.